Piraeus is the most important port of modern Greece both for passenger and cargo transport and the fourth most populated city in Greece, after Athens, Thessaloniki, and Patras. It is a city of great historical importance, having been founded at a crucial moment in the history of Greece. Of that ancient port city, there are a few archaeological remains, although many are hidden among or beneath modern buildings. In this video, we are going to tell the history of the city and visit those visible remains. This is Aventuras a Pie de Página, and I am Esteban, your guide today. Before starting, we want to make some comments. First, this video is quite long, so we have left links to the different sections for faster access. Second, we have made an audio guide to the sites of this video, for those who want to explore them in person. Third, if you like the video, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment. Let's begin with a little bit of history. At the beginning of the 5th century BC, there was an event that was going to change the history of Athens and turn it into a superpower: the discovery of large silver deposits in the mines of Laurion. This discovery will allow extraordinary income and the possibility of carrying out great works. The general Themistocles convinces the rest of the Athenians that the best way to spend that money is by improving the naval presence and expanding the fleet of warships, and finally overthrowing Aegina as leader of the Aegean Sea. At that time, Athens already had a port, the port of Philo, but this port was shallow and proved small for building and maintaining a large fleet. With that purpose, it was decided to build a second port for the city of Athens, on a rocky peninsula about 3 kilometers west of Philo. This peninsula had 3 excellent natural bays: Munichia, the smallest, to the east, Zea, a medium-sized bay to the south, and Kantharos, a huge bay to the west. It was decided to assign Munichia and Zea for exclusive military use, while Kantharos, the largest, to have a mixed use, and to use it also as commercial port. The military installations consisted of 3 types of building: the shipyards, the sheds, and the armories. The shipyards were where ships were built and repaired. The sheds were where ships were stored to protect them from the elements, and the armories were where the equipment for the ships was stored. A few decades later, after the foundation, it was decided to rebuild the city. The person in charge of the work was Hippodamus of Miletus, who was a philosopher and meteorologist, and who is currently considered the father of urban planning. The city would be divided into residential private areas, worship areas, commercial areas, and military areas. To separate the areas, he used the grid system, where each block was 40 meters long by 47 meters wide, and that was subdivided into 2 rows of 4 houses. To protect the city, it was decided to build a first wall that protected the entire city as well as the 3 bays. 2 curious details are that these walls did not protect the western part of the peninsula, nor all of Kantharos Bay, leaving the north part unprotected, probably because it was a marshy area. As part of the same defensive plan, the walls of Athens and the known as Long Walls would be built, which protect the access roads to the ports. Both walls we have already explored in detail in other videos. The original walls would be repaired and expanded by the General Konon to protect the entirety of the peninsula. With the Roman conquest by General Sulla, Piraeus will lose that military use and will become an exclusively commercial port, abandoning the military facilities in Zea and Munichia. The city of Piraeus was inhabited until the 6th century AD, when the city was finally abandoned. Regarding the final cause of the abandonment, we can only speculate, but it probably had to do with the main problem of the city and the reason why the first port was not founded there. The peninsula did not have drinking water and had to resort exclusively to the capture of rainwater. This problem was solved in the 2nd century by the Romans, when they extended the aqueduct of Hadrian along the Long Walls. The modern city of Piraeus was refounded on top of ancient ruins around the year 1835, after the independence of Greece from the Ottoman Empire. The large bay, formerly known as Megas Limon or Kantharos, is today the largest passenger port of Greece and one of the largest in all of Europe, connecting Athens with the majority of the Greek islands. The medium-sized bay, known today as Passalimani, has a large marina and a large promenade along the sea. And the smallest bay, known as Turkolimano or Mikrolimano, is full of restaurants to eat fish. Furthermore, it is connected with Athens and the airport with metro, and with the rest of Greece with suburban train. Regarding the ancient remains, it is likely that the most important are the defensive walls, and unlike the walls of Athens, they are exposed and in relatively good condition. The walls of Pireaus were built in two stages. There was a first project by Themistocles at the beginning of the 5th century BC, and which were repaired and extended by Konon a century later. Despite that some stone blocks can be seen throughout most of its extent, certain sections stand out. Like the gates of Pireaus, which connected with Athens across two roads that went inside and outside of the long walls, which we already explored a few years ago in another video. The Etonian Gate, which is exceptionally well preserved and which is located in front of Gate E2 of the Pireaus port. The western section of Pasalimani or Zia, where one can see not only the walls, but also other remains both inside and outside of the water. Finally, the ones known as the Walls of Konon, which was the extension that this general made to protect the entire coast of the peninsula between Pasalimani and Kansaros. This extension is preserved almost entirely and can be appreciated for more than 2 kilometers. This wall has some surprises, such as a section of the wall that was incorporated as part of a modern building. One can also see remains of bunkers from World War II built by the Germans, which are integrated into the old walls. Furthermore, there are sections within the Naval Academy and within the cruise terminal of the port, but the access to those areas is restricted. And regarding General Themistocles, there are 2 tombs in Pireaus attributed to the Athenian general. But first, a little context. Despite his successes on the battlefield due to certain political movements, General Themistocles was expelled from Athens by popular vote. This vote was cast by engraving the name of the person to be expelled on ceramic dishes called ostraka and depositing them for counting. From this custom comes the word ostracism. The General Themistocles ended dying abroad, and after his death, it was decided to repatriate his remains, and they were deposited in a large funerary monument on the coast of Pireaus. Indeed, numerous literary accounts have arrived that this tomb was visible by travelers upon arriving by ship to Pireaus, without specifying the exact location. Due to the lack of more precise data, there are 2 candidates. The first is a large circular monument, of which only the base remains and is located in a park in Drapitsona, outside the port of Pireaus, and it is visible to passenger ships upon arrival. This tomb is easy to visit, and it is open 24 hours a day. The second tomb is located inside the Naval Academy, and to visit it one must request a permit. There are videos in YouTube of people who have visited it. It is more elaborate and it has carved the full name of Themistocles, although misspelled, clearly a product of subsequent interventions. The next place in our list is one of the most curious. Located on a cliff between the Microlimano Bay and Pasalimani, there is a cave, which functioned as a sanctuary baths of ancient times. Known as Siraggeio, some attribute its name to an ancient hero named Siraggos, while a simpler explanation is that it derives from the word Siragga, which means tunnel. It is believed that it began as a sanctuary, and in the 4th century BC it was transformed into a balneario or baths. It is a complex of underground passage with benches carved on the sides, bathtubs and drainage channels. Within were found 2 tiles and a stone altar with the inscription Apollo Apotropou, that belonged to a sanctuary suspected to have existed in the vicinity. What makes it curious is that this cave was used for several decades as a bar and a rebetiko joint. This historical past of the cave was not unknown to the owners of the establishment. In fact, they covered mosaics with large wine barrels to hide them from the public. This establishment was known by the name of spilia tu paraskeva and was frequented by people of all kinds, including rich and famous people like Aristotle Onassis. This bar functioned as such until the 70s. Now it is completely abandoned and neglected, and public access is forbidden, which is a real pity. There are some videos on YouTube of urban explorers who managed to enter and film it. Regarding the fleet of ships, it consisted of wooden ships called triremes. It was a long and fast ship with rams and was propelled by 170 rowers, divided into 3 rows along both sides of the ship, hence the name. This trireme that we see parked in Pasalimani was built years ago for the celebration of Eleusis as a European capital of culture. Maintaining a fleet of these ships also required a considerable amount of resources. Three types of buildings were required to maintain the fleet. The shipyards where the ships were made, the sheds where the ships were stored when they were not in use to protect them from the elements, and the arsenals where the equipment of the ships was stored. Given that these ships were very susceptible to damage from the elements, it was estimated that there was a storage unit for each ship. According to the naval inventories of 330 BC, these shipsheds could hold 82 ships in Munichia, 196 ships in Zea, and 94 ships in Kansaros. Although archaeological excavations documented many of these shipsheds in the three bays, today only some are visible to the east of the Pasalimani Bay, some located under the 9th Piraeus Secondary School and the other a few meters south on the ground floor of a building. Unfortunately, they are not very well preserved nor illuminated. Unlike those found in Munichia, it is believed that the shipsheds of Zea had double capacity, where each ramp allowed to park 2 ships. If you want to see some well-preserved sheds, we recommend you watch our video of Oiniades, an ancient settlement in western Greece, which we visited in a video a few years ago. Regarding the arsenals, there is a part of one within a modern building, at 170 Ypsilandu Street, about 100 meters from the coast of Pasalimani. Designed by Philo Exeixtidou of Eleusis, the building was 130 meters long by 18 meters wide. According to ancient sources, this arsenal could store the equipment of up to 134 triremes, which was more than a third of the 360 triremes fleet that is believed to have had the Athenian fleet. Both the Arsenal of Philo and the shipyards were destroyed during the conquest of Greece by Roman General Sulla in the year 86 BC. By the time of Pausanias, at the beginning of the 2nd century AD, very few shipsheds were in use. Behind the Archaeological Museum of Piraeus is located the Ancient Theatre. To our left within the museum, there is a roof that safeguards extremely elaborate tombs. One of those tombs belongs to the son of Herodes Atticus, the great benefactor of Athens, who donated the renovation of the Panathenaic Stadium and the Odeon Theatre at the foot of the Acropolis, known as Hierodion. The Archaeological Museum of Piraeus has many interesting artifacts, sculptures and tombs from ancient Piraeus and its surroundings, and it is worth visiting. We particularly like the artifacts regarding the agora, for measuring quantities and lengths that we will show later in the video. Outside in the garden, besides the theater and the tombs, you can see a large collection of stone anchors. Returning to the large bay, on the corner of the streets Acti Poseidonos and Dimitriou Gounari, the eastern part of a great stoa is preserved. This public building functioned as a grain silo to supply sailors, and in case of emergency, to supply food to the population of Athens in case of famine. A few meters away, the remains of the old port were found, which included a wall facing the sea, formed by large stone blocks and a Roman concrete reinforcement. Unfortunately, these remains were covered again, to make a tram station that is only used on special occasions. On the station pavement, there is a drawing of the silhouettes of the findings. The lower chapel of the Church of the Holy Trinity or Agia Triada hides the foundations of several ancient buildings, as well as the street that separated them. It is important to note that, unlike other places, the ruins of ancient Piraeus were found almost at ground level, only 50 centimeters below the surface. This site is not open to the public regularly, but if you see it open, do not miss the opportunity to visit it. Furthermore, there are 2 ancient residential blocks. During the construction works of the Piraeus courthouse in 1980 in Rondiri Square, it was uncovered a residential block, inhabited from the end of the classical period until the beginnings of the Byzantine period. 2 large houses were found, with multiple rooms and with cisterns for collecting and storing rainwater. Some rooms had independent access from the street, so they were believed to have been transformed into shops or workshops. Furthermore, at the end of the period of habitation, the second house was transformed into small residences or small apartments. However, the most important discoveries were some rare artifacts, which include amphorae marble weights and lead weights, two secamata, which are tables for measuring the volume of liquids, now displayed in the Archaeological Museum, and a list of maximum prices for butcher shops, which makes one think that the Agora of Piraeus was located nearby. Approximately 200 meters away, on the side of the Terpsithea Square, during the construction of the Rallios School in 1995, another residential block was discovered from the classical period, which contained different types of cisterns and a section of sewer. In the Roman period, a mansion was built reusing the plot of 4 houses. Because of the remains found, it is believed that it was destroyed during the sack by the Heruli in the year 267 AD. Continuing along the avenue, we arrived at the Korai Square, which is the center of the modern city and which was also the center of the ancient Piraeus. In front of the square is the municipal theater, and beneath the theater existed a large rectangular building that is believed to have been a sanctuary dedicated to Dionysus, which was surrounded by the residences of the priests. Furthermore, excavations carried out in 1981 revealed remains of another large building of the Hellenistic era and of its water supply system, which is the one we have before us. In front of the theater is the Korai Square, where the final station of the Blue Line Metro is located. Both the square and the station have been renovated to describe the relationship of ancient Piraeus with water. Where it is explained how rainwater was collected in classical and Hellenistic times, and how the Romans equipped Piraeus with running water in imperial times. Furthermore, there are an infinite number of ancient remains in the ground floors and basements of some buildings. In many cases, it is possible to see the remains, while in others it is not. Also, there are a lot of ruins in abandoned plots and in construction sites, so we recommend to take a peek over the fences every time you can. Visiting the port of Piraeus is very easy. You can get there with the green and blue metro lines, with commuter train and with countless buses. As we said at the beginning of the video, for those who want to explore it in person, we have created an audio guide where we visit the places shown in this video, plus some that we decided not to include in order not to make it too long. If you like our content, we recommend our videos about the walls of Athens and the long walls, and we ask that you share this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next adventure.